Hello and welcome to this lecture, and in this lecture we will talk something about generic views. So as you could remember that this is the way, or this was the way in which we have designed our views in the previous lectures. Now I just wanted to mention that this is not only the way in which you could design your views. There is one more way of designing views, and that is basically called as using generic views. So in order to use generic views, what you need to do is that you basically need to delete entire things which you have in your views.py file. And that is not actually going to affect your code, because we are going to write an entirely new set of code which is going to work much more efficiently than this code right here. So first we need to delete everything, and as I said, we are using the generic views rather than using the normal views. You actually need to import the generic views first. So first let's go ahead and import the generic views. So you type from Django dot views import, and that is going to be generic. So once you import generic, let's import the books model. So let's type in from dot models, that should be models, import book. So once you have the book imported, let's create an index view that is nothing but the view which we display on the index.html file. So in order to create a generic view for the index view, we use classes. So you type in class, then type in, let's say, index view. So let's name this thing as index view, and we are basically going to inherit things from the generic list view. So you type in generic dot list view. So once you have this view with you, the next thing which you could do dot all. And once you are done with this, you're pretty much done with creating the index view. And as you could make out from the code, that this code is much more readable and much more efficient as compared to the code which we had to design for the previous views. So once this view is done, let's go ahead and let's design the detail view. So for designing the detail view, what you simply need to do is that you need to type in class as we did for the index view, and let's name this thing as detail view. So let me type detail view, and this is also going to import from generic dot detail view. And in this, we first have a reference to the model which we are using. So the model is basically equal to book. So let me just have a reference here to the model. And now let's also assign the template name which we have assigned right over here. So you need to type in template name equals, and this time we reference the details template. So we type books slash detail.html. Okay, so once this is done, we are pretty much done with changing the views.py file. Now we actually need to make some changes to the urls.py file as well, because we have changed these views right here. So what you do is that you simply go to the urls.py file, but that should actually be the urls.py for books. So simply open that thing up, and right here in the urls pattern, what we do is that we currently have the views for this index page as well as the details page. Now instead of having this as simply index, what you need to do is that you need to replace this with index view dot as view. That is going to take care of the index page, and in case of details, we should have a detail view dot as view. So once you are done making changes to this, the next thing which you need to do is that instead of this book ID, which basically refers to the ID, you replace this thing with the original ID or the primary key. So you simply type in pk here, and that is going to take care of the ID which you are going to type in over here. Now, one last change which you need to do is that you need to go to the index.html file, and as you could see, instead of having as you could see, still we are redirected to a new details page. So that is how we could use generic views, and the reason for using generic views is that let's say you are going to have some forms in your website. So right now we don't have any forms or Django forms to basically go ahead and accept data from the user, but when we will be designing forms, it will be much easier when we actually use generic views like this. And also you could make out from the code that writing generic views is quite simple and it does not take much time, and the code is actually quite readable, so you don't have to type in a number of lines of code. And also whenever you want to make some modifications, as there are a less number of lines of code, you could easily go through the code and make the required modifications. So that is the significance of using generic views as compared to the normal views. So I hope you guys were able to understand how we actually created the generic views in this lecture. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.